Namaste, friends. Welcome to your yoga class. My name is MARIAAA, and today I have a short yoga that is to help you deal with stress. So today's yoga flow is going to be short. It's not going to be a solve all for stress, but hopefully it'll help you gain a little bit of perspective, maybe a different perspective that you can take with you off the mat to help you in those stressful times. This flow is for all levels. I'm going to be trying to keep it pretty much simple, and I'll also offer modifications, but there are no props needed today. So we'll go ahead and start in a child's pose. Bring your knees as wide as the mat, or maybe wider, just as wide as it feels comfortable. Start to walk your hands forward as you start to shift your hips back and sit them back on to your heels. Walk your hands forward until you feel a gentle stretch. Maybe you bring your elbows to the ground, maybe your forehead to the ground. And we'll take a few moments here just to focus on this moment, to get grounded, and to bring our awareness to our breath. So starting off, just observing your breath. When we are dealing with stressful times, sometimes our breathing is the number one thing that gets disrupted. So being able to observe when those moments happen and bring yourself back to presence, to the present moment, to awareness, might just calm you down. And now that you've brought your attention to your breath, allow this simple awareness to just naturally deepen your breath. And start to breathe into your belly, not so much your chest. All four sides of the torso, and then when you exhale, imagine deflating like a balloon, pushing all the air out. One more big inhale, just like that, inhaling through all four sides of the torso, inhaling like a balloon, up into your chest. And then as you exhale, melt your body, melt your chest onto the ground. Slowly start to make your way up to a tabletop position. So stacking your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. We're going to come into some cat-cow, so gently opening up through the back, dropping the belly. Lift the chin and lift the tailbone. Coming into a cow pose. Take a big inhale here, again sending it to your low belly. And then on the exhale, start to tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone down towards that space in between your knees, and pull your belly button up into your spine. Push away from the mat. On your next inhale, drop the belly, lift the tailbone, switch it up, cow pose, lift the chest, send the collarbone and the heart space through the arms. Slight bend in the arms here, not to hyperextend. And then on the exhale, curl the tailbone, round through the upper back. Feeling a nice stretch through the upper neck. One more time, cow pose, inhaling to drop the belly, lift the tailbone. And on the exhale, cat pose, round through. Return to neutral and then drop your elbows where your wrists were. So keeping your elbows right underneath your shoulders, trying to keep that stability there, and then send your fingertips straight forward. So trying to keep a straight line. The forearms are parallel to one another. Try to rotate, so bring your elbows in as you rotate your biceps out just a little bit, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but start to walk your knees towards the back of the room until you feel a gentle stretch in your upper back. So wherever that is, you just pause there. If you can move back a little farther, feel free. Option to let your forehead rest on the ground if that's accessible to you. And option to keep the toes tucked under or put them flat on the ground so the back of the toes, back of the feet is pressing up against the mat. Sometimes that helps if you're pushing into that to find a little bit of stability. We're opening up through the upper back here, so the low back is pretty stable. Start to rotate your biceps towards the outer edges of the room to find a little bit more stability here, and then just breathe. Try to find any areas that you can soften, maybe, in this challenging pose. But returning and anchoring yourself to that breath to help you stay in this challenging pose. So focusing on just taking deep breaths, and it might be a little harder when you're in this kind of stretched out position with your torso and your belly, but the point here is to focus and just try. So even that action. One more inhale. And then exhale to lift your forehead off the ground if it was on the ground. Start to roll forward, drop your hips onto the mat, and then your chest is lifted in between your arms. So coming into a Sphinx pose. Walk your elbows towards the front of the mat just a little bit if you need a little bit more space in your shoulders, if they're a little bit tight. Push your tops of the feet into the mat. Push the hips into the mat. Push the thighs into the mat. Maybe you have your knees lift a little bit. So you're staying active through the bottom of the legs here. Try to pull your elbows back towards your hips and pull your hips towards your elbows energetically. So not actually moving. Lift your chest a little bit higher. And try to roll your shoulder tips away from your ears, pulling your belly button up and in. Maybe you feel your belly button stretch, but trying to protect the low back here. And you're doing that by pressing your hips into the mat and then also pulling your belly button up and then in. One more inhale here. And then exhale to walk your hands forward just a little bit. Take your right arm, so keep your left arm grounded, and slide it, glide it, or thread it underneath the left arm. From here, bring your left knee, bend it, and bring it up towards your right arm. And then from here, we'll just open up, coming into a gentle twist. So a supine twist with your left leg crossed over your right. You're facing up now. Chest is facing up, ground down through that left shoulder, and then option to graze past your left fingertips. Notice any tension you might be holding in your body. And as you notice it, become aware of any tension that is unnecessary or that might be causing you stress or that might be a result of stress. Sometimes tension is good in the body, but sometimes it holds emotions like stress. It holds a lot of those characteristics from when you originally felt that pain, which can bring back more of those same emotions. So sometimes tackling those areas of the body that feel tension can also help. And then turn back over, bringing your left arm over your right. Glide your right arm out from underneath and then send your left leg back, straight back out in front of you. Same thing on the other side. Slide your right arm out a little bit. Take your left arm and glide it, slide it, or thread it underneath. Then bring your right knee up, parallel maybe to your hips towards the left arm. Open up your chest towards the sky. And then ground your right arm on the other side or over to your right. So now you're facing up, chest is up. Ground down through that right shoulder, and then option to gaze past your right fingertips. And just breathe. Using the inhales to help you become aware of those areas that are holding any unnecessary tension. And using your exhales to soften, to help them relax, to help your body melt a little bit more into the ground. One more big breath in. And then on the exhale, use that to roll back down and forward, bringing your right arm to cross over your left. Unravel, unthread the left arm, bringing it back to Sphinx Pose, and then send your right knee back behind you. So from here, bring your hands back underneath your shoulders, and then you push yourself back up to tabletop position. From here, we'll bring our right foot Tuck the toes under. Walk your hands out just a little bit. Ground down through all 10 through all 10 knuckles, especially that pointer finger, knuckle, and thumb. Lift the knees here. Stay here for the inhale. And then on the exhale, send the hips up high for downward facing dog. Start to straighten out through the legs, but keeping a little bend in the knees. Spread your toes wide and send your heels energetically towards the ground, towards the earth. One inhale. And then exhale to release, deflate the balloon. Start to tiptoe very slowly, your feet towards the front of the mat to meet the backs of your hands, coming into a forward fold. Release any of your torso and your weight over your thighs, bending your knees here as much as you need to. Start to lift the hips away from the heels to get a gentle stretch through the back of the legs, through the hamstrings. Connecting back to your breath, focusing on big inhales, big belly breaths, and slow, controlled exhales. From here, keep your hands planted, and then step your right foot back towards the back of the mat, coming into a lunge. Drop the back knee, lift the torso up off of the left thigh, and then square your hips, so bring your left hip back maybe. Try to sink your hips towards the earth a little bit more every time you do that, so keeping your hips level. Inhale to lift the arms up to the sky, and exhale to release. Bring your hands to the inside of the left foot. Lift the back knee. Pivot on that back left foot so the toes start to point out, and then pivot on the left toes so the toes start to point towards the long side of the mat. So we're coming into a side lunge Skandasana here. Your heel can be lifted, so your left heel can be lifted, but your right toes can be also lifted, or they can be on the ground. So whatever variation you want here, you're just kind of finding a lunge, bending into that left knee, straightening out through the right, and then option to bring your sitting bones towards your left heel if that feels good. One inhale here. Exhale all the air out, and then start to crawl your fingertips over to the right side, bending into that right leg. So same thing on the other side, Skandasana. Maybe lifting the left toes up, maybe lifting the right heel up. Wherever you are, it is your journey, and you are exactly where you need to be. We'll start to pivot. Plant the left ball of the foot, lift the left heel up, and then pivot your toes to face the back side of the mat, so opposite of where you were originally. Drop that back left heel, and then lift the torso up off of the right thigh. Square your hips, and then try to sink your hips a little closer to the ground, a little closer to your right heel. Lift the arms up. Take a big inhale here. And exhale to release your arms to the ground. Plant your hands and then step your right knee back to meet your left. From here, you can move your knees back as much as you want, and we're going to end in a child's pose, so taking the knees as wide as the mat, toes together, or another option is to keep the knees together here. So maybe if you want to explore this new variation, start to walk your hands forward, hips and sitting bones back towards your heels. So you start to sit on your legs and the backs of your calves. And then maybe start to paint or bring your fingertips back. If you're in this knees together pose, bring your fingertips back towards your knees. Forehead comes to the ground. And find a little time to, again, focus inward. Bring your attention inward and focus on the breath. And not just the breath, though. Let that breath take you to those areas in your body where you might feel like they need a little bit more love. Maybe your shoulders, maybe your hips, your feet, your upper back, your lower back, wherever that is for you. Use the exhales to fill it with life, to give it energy. Imagine new cells helping kind of regenerate any knots or any tension that's there. And then on the exhales, use that to maybe soften a little bit more, relax those areas a little bit more. You can stay here for as long as you'd like. Otherwise, I'm going to roll back up just to leave you guys with a few last words. I hope that this yoga class helped you maybe bring a little bit of attention to things that you weren't aware of, help you become aware of that stress and where you're holding that stress in your body. And maybe you can bring some of these breathing techniques or tools off the mat with you into your real life, so you don't even have to be doing a yoga flow to focus on the breath or to kind of scan your body for tension. They do help though, at least with the physical body and the tension. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoyed this. If you have anyone in your life that you think might benefit from it, please send this video along to them. Leave me a comment if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much, yogis. I hope to see you next time. Sending love and light from my heart to yours. I'll see you next time.